There's bad news for the United States in West Asia, or should I say more bad news. This time, courtesy the United Arab Emirates. Here's what they've done. The UAE has pulled back from a US-led maritime coalition. It's called the CMF, or the Combined Maritime Forces. Some background first. The CMF is a coalition of 38 nations. Its job is to tackle maritime threats in the Red Sea and the Gulf. Things like smuggling and piracy, but unofficially it's also meant to counter Iran. The UAE says it withdrew from the CMF 2 months ago, but the CMF website still mentions the UAE. So it's not clear what the situation is, whether the UAE has pulled out from the coalition or just the operations. Either way, it's a big blow to the US. The question is, what led to it? Well, the US media is floating a theory. Here's what the Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday. It blames the recent tanker seizures by Iran. 2 oil tankers were seized in the last 2 months. The Wall Street Journal says the UAE was not happy with the US response. They wanted something tougher. Could that be a reason behind this withdrawal? Possible. But the UAE has tried to downplay it. They say the Wall Street Journal report is a mischaracterization. Perhaps it is. But the broader story here is not about tankers. It's about the downward spiral in UAE-US relations. 2 major factors have contributed to it. One is the lack of trust in America's security guarantees. We saw what happened in Afghanistan. We are also seeing what's happening in Ukraine. US guarantees are not bulletproof anymore. The UAE had first-hand experience of that. Let me tell you what happened last year. In January 2022, Houthi drones struck an oil facility in Abu Dhabi. 2 Indians were killed in that strike. Afterwards, the UAE boosted its air defense. It decided to keep F-16 jets in the air at all times. And that meant mid-air refueling, which was done by the US. But guess what happened later? US officials demanded payments for the refueling. Basically, they sent a bill. Reports say the UAE leadership felt insulted. After all, allies don't pay for defense missions. Anyway, that's one reason. America's waning strength as a security guarantor. The second reason is linked to the first. Like most countries, the UAE is looking to diversify. It has built relations with China and Russia. In October last year, the UAE's president, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, met Vladimir Putin in Russia. He has also refused to condemn the Ukraine war. So the UAE is looking out for partners. China is another one. The UAE is using Huawei to roll out their 5G network. Most Western nations have banned it, but not the UAE. Reports say they are also building a port with China. It's located close to Abu Dhabi. Construction had been halted in 2021 after the US raised concerns. But looks like it's back on. That's what America's Discord leaks say. US spy agencies spotted new construction at the Chinese facility. This was around December last year. So all in all, things are not looking good for the US. Donald Trump began US disengagement from West Asia. Joe Biden has continued it. Perhaps it's a popular policy back home, but in West Asia, it has been counterproductive. Traditional US allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are looking elsewhere. They realize China has the appetite and the money. The UAE's bilateral trade with China is around $64 billion annually. But what's it with the US? Just around $23 billion. So financially, it makes sense. Like most Gulf countries, the UAE is also diversifying away from oil, and that requires investment and technology. Just so happens China can give both. Does that mean it's game over for US? Well, not so fast. Military alliances and cooperation are not built overnight. US weapons still form the backbone of the UAE's arsenal. It has bought American weapons worth $20 billion in the last decade. It is also home to one of the largest F-16 fleets. All that equipment will need parts and servicing. So this is not a relationship that can be discarded overnight, but it's a trajectory that will worry Washington. Like all relations, diplomatic ones don't disappear overnight. They die by 1,000 cuts. The UAE's most recent move is one such cut.